you spend the last 24 hours pretending to work while actually shopping online for Uggs? Well, many did, according to new numbers. In fact, 8.5% more Americans shopped online yesterday during Cyber Monday than the year before. There's an interesting story, actually, behind that multi-billion-dollar cyber shopping day. It's a cynical creation by a powerful lobbying group, not an organic trend. The National Retail Federation, the world's largest retail trade organization, known for conservative causes like repealing the Affordable Care Act, as well as anti-union campaigns, cooked up that holiday shopping idea in a press release back in 2005. And it caught on like wildfire. Right now, we're seeing another political push to brand one day this week, but it is a different day, and it is a different and much more noble cause. Joining me now to discuss, Republican Congressman Aaron Schock of Illinois. He introduced a new resolution to officially recognize Giving Tuesday. It's, of course, a movement of 10,000 plus organizations to try to inspire everyone everywhere to give in whatever way, however small. It's also an interesting show of bipartisanship. He introduced it along with Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard. I want to talk about that in a second. But first, it's great to have you on the program, Congressman Schock.
Thank you, Ronan. Good to be with you.
Absolutely. And when you launched this, are you hoping that this push for Giving Tuesday will actually result in sort of substantive change in movement on the ground from people mobilizing change? Or is this more of a messaging piece?
Well, I think we are doing this to hopefully highlight the fact that there's already a lot of giving going on in our country, but at a time of the year when much of the retail business gets most of their income in the next 2 months, in November and December. There's a lot of money changing hands. We want folks to be also thinking about who they can be helping, who they can be giving monetarily to at this time of year when a lot of money is changing hands. But it's also a reminder that giving is more than just money. Giving, for a lot of us, the most valuable thing we have is our time. And certainly, regardless of your age, we all have time that we can give to different causes, different charities and efforts. And people give in other ways. We have the largest military force on the face of the planet, and it's an all-voluntary military. And so those people at this time of year are giving up time away from their family and loved ones so that we can all be home with ours. So it's not just about money, it's about time, it's about thinking about the world and our communities and how we can be trying to make the place a little bit better at a time of holidays when sometimes it focuses more on ourselves.
And Congressman, you had an interesting generational emphasis that struck me. When you announced this, you noted that 73% of millennials gave to charity last year. Why frame this in such generationally specific terms?
Well, part of it was my co-chair of the Future Caucus and co-sponsor of this bill is Tulsi Gabbard, who I know wanted to be with us but couldn't because of our schedules. She is 34 years old. I'm 33 years old. And I think a part of it is young people today, right or wrong, people have focused somehow on the fact that maybe young people aren't as involved politically, aren't as involved in their communities, aren't as involved in philanthropic causes. And the fact of the matter is our generation are more engaged now than ever, politically, entrepreneurially, and philanthropically. And so I think the numbers speak for themselves. 74% of millennials and young people have given to charity in the last year, and that's an impressive number. And so it's not only a benchmark, but it's also a motivational factor that I think we need to rally around.
And Congressman, as you mentioned, Tulsi Gabbard was supposed to join for this segment, and it is a crazy day on the Hill. She was unable to due to her votes. But the fact remains, this is a push across the aisle, and I have to say, personally, I'm very inspired by that. It is an antidote to so much of the cynicism and partisanship that we usually see. You both are also trying to institutionalize that more broadly. You two co-chair the Congressional Future Caucus, potentially a very significant development if it catches on. What do you think others on the Hill can learn from the show of bipartisanship that the two of you have launched?
Well, we get more done working together. At the end of the day, regardless of what happens on the continuing resolution, on the omnibus, on the funding bill, it's going to need to be bipartisan. At the end of the day, Democrats control the Senate, Republicans control the House. I can assure you the vote that's taken in both chambers will have people on both sides of the aisle voting in the affirmative that will ultimately get to the president's desk. So the fact of the matter is, having us sit in our respective political corners really doesn't do much for our respective constituents. So the more that we reach across the aisle doesn't mean you have to compromise your principles or compromise what you believe, but it's a recognition that even in your personal relationships, your business relationships, or your political relationships, you don't get everything that you want. And people who live in these worlds where they believe that they should get everything that they want just aren't living in reality. So I think what Tulsi and I and the Future Caucus are showing is that, particularly among younger members of Congress who've come to D.C. at an early age, we're very result-oriented, and we want to think about things not just, the next 3 months or 6 months of funding, but rather what do we need to be doing as America to be more strategic for the next 5 years and 10 years. And, last time I checked, those aren't Republican-Democrat issues. It's about how do we invest in education, how do we make America smarter so we compete on a global economy.
But, Congressman, how do you translate that bipartisanship that you're putting so effectively behind Giving Tuesday, some of these very nice, very important gestures in terms of the symbolism, into some of these tougher, more divisive issues?
Well, I mean, look, we find common ground. At the end of the day, if we're going to if we're going to pass a truly comprehensive immigration bill, and one that addresses all of the areas that need to be, it's going to be finding that common ground. And I think certainly bringing the members of Congress together. When I came to Congress 6 years ago, there were 4 of us under the age of 40. 2 years ago, there were 40 members under the age of 40, and now we've got about another 20 members that were just elected under the age of 40. So the point is that we have a growing number of people who are result-oriented, and finding that common ground on tax policy, on trade policy, on immigration policy. If we can bring bills to with 40 or 60 members as co-sponsors, that allows our leadership to actually be leaders and move on these issues.
Well, this is a rare show of bipartisanship. It is certainly a start towards those very important goals that you outline. I so respect that. And, of course, there are tons of specific policy issues I'd love to drill down on. I know you're here to talk about Giving Tuesday, and I'm grateful that you came on to talk about that. Illinois Congress.